It's time for another collaborative podcast that no one asked for. From the creators of Cases of Continuity, No New Friends, and Big Beautiful Dis, get ready for Creators United. And now, give it up for your hosts, Ryan, Dane, and Scott.
What's good, everybody? We are Creators United. It's a podcast that we're still searching for our identity. It's like right before you come out of the closet. You're still searching. That's what we're doing. We are still in the closet of identity of podcasts. But I'm Scott, the host of the Parents Night Out podcast with No New Friends. And with me, the host of the Big Beautiful Diz, and that's DIS, YouTube channel, Dane. Dane, how's it going, man?
Hello. It's going well. It's doing well.
You know, something that's been on my mind, and I actually haven't shared this with you until now, so this is really exciting for me. So
I'm excited too.
We have our moments. I definitely have my moments on the podcast where I'm like, oh, I probably shouldn't have said that. And typically it's after the episode is released that I realize that, or I make a mistake and I get fact checked. Well, Dane, this next story is about you, sir.
Oh, okay.
I received a phone call from someone who said, "Hey, I saw this video on YouTube, and apparently this guy is a friend of yours." And I was like, "Oh, do tell." And knowing who I was talking to on the phone, I knew exactly which video it was.
Oh, so, I think I know which. I know which one I know who you received a call from.
So I'm like, well, Jeff Kaufman, which video are you talking about?
Yep.
So Jeff Kaufman calls me, and Jeff Kaufman, for those of you who don't know, was the lead defense attorney on the Tigger trial. And he's like, yeah, I watched this thing, and he got like most of the facts wrong. And
very little things I want to point out, stuff that was not publicly available.
Probably right. And I'm like,
he did comment, which I was very appreciative of. He did correct me on the stuff that I didn't even know.
That's pretty cool, though.
So yeah, but I'm happy for it though, because then it's out there, and the stuff that I found that was public, obviously was not correct, which I apologize for.
So I told him, I said, dude, Dane's a good dude.
I want to say I made a mistake. I just want to come out and say I'm sorry. It will not happen again. I just want to, I just want to make sure that, thank Scott, Jeff, thank you for calling me out on this public forum, just so that we can move on from this. And I hope to regain everyone's trust in the very near future.
So I told him, I was like, Dane is such a good guy. I was like, I'm sure it was minor little oversights, and Jeff wasn't mad. And he's like, I'm thinking of reaching out to him. I said, if you reached out to him, Dane would that would be the biggest thing for Dane. He would love that, and just be ready to do like a follow-up interview video, because I that would be really cool. But he said it's a good video. He's going to check out some of your other stuff. The only news I follow, the only current events that I follow are the ones that impact my fantasy football team. Like when Greek Hill gets arrested, like that is news to me.
Don't get me started on the fantasy.
Let's talk about that for a second, because Dane, you know what you're doing, and you've had a good team all year in the Disneyverse.
I think I know what I'm doing.
Well, okay, so all year it's been you, Alex, me in the top 3 spots. And the 3 of us have been kind of teeter-totting a little bit. And one of the Jackies who I said, watch out, like this is a good team. She was in, I think she's the one that beat me. But so our draft was 4 days long. Here we are, you and I get eliminated in the first round of the playoffs.
Yep.
And I'm like, well, how does this, in what world does this happen? Oh, I'll tell you. We're in a league where one guy doesn't take a running back until the 10th round and drafts Giovanni Bernard.
Yeah, he did.
Okay. Yep. And oh my God, I just saw the name
We have a
Okay.
guest in the studio, by the way. Ladies and gentlemen, happy birthday to you, my man. What's your favorite show in Disney World history?
Well, the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular is my favorite show
Mine
ever.
too.
This is
Ladies and
unbelievable.
gentlemen, please welcome Kevin Brassard, original Indiana Jones from the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular. I am so nervous I can't even get out my intro.
No, come on. Seriously, it's just me.
There's a
Gosh.
celebrity on this show. It's quite
Nah, not so
impressive.
much.
Okay, this is unreal. Kevin, it's so good to meet you. I've met you in person once after I stuck around after the show, but I think there's a picture of me in your all's break room. I'm not allowed to the show anymore. No,
It's
I'm
a
just
wanted
kidding. It's not
poster.
that bad, but
We did have to ban you.
Kevin, I've been going to Hollywood studios since it was MGM Studios back in 89, 90. And my sister and I used to put on the Epic Stunt Spectacular in my living room. We had a little Nerf basketball that we would roll down the hallway, and the way that my living room, I had a hallway and I could jump behind the couch just as the ball passed me. That was last week. I think I tore an ACL, but Kevin,
Okay, I was just about to ask you, how old were you when you did that?
last week.
Yeah, it was on Monday for his birthday party.
Yeah. Kevin, thank you so much for being here. I actually heard an interview with you a couple weeks ago. It was an older interview on a different podcast that I just randomly stumbled upon. And thank you for being gracious with your time. It's
Oh,
unbelievable.
it's not. It's what we're supposed to do in life, right? We're supposed to be kind and help people out, and that's what we do. Be humble and be kind.
Well, that was my biggest takeaway is just how humble and kind you are. You've got one of
Oh,
the coolest jobs.
I do, don't I?
Very,
Yes. And
very.
I've heard all the things that you've done, opening up cruise lines and now you get to train all the indies and you're still in the show.
Quite
Tell
an
me about
honor.
your journey.
It has been an amazing journey. Starting, you want me to go back, like way back?
Let's start at the beginning. Start
Whew.
at the very beginning.
All right, so I started with Disney in 1987, and I was originally hired for the Hoop-de-Doo Review. I was there for 2 years, and I got a call from casting asking me if I'd like to audition for an action character named Jack. So I did. I auditioned. I went away thinking, okay, I had a great audition, and I forgot about it. 3 months later, I got a call from casting saying, how would you like to be Indiana Jones? And I'm like, I didn't audition for that. And they said, yes, you did. You just didn't know it because it was a huge secret. They wanted this to be kept very hush hush because they were bringing in the Glenn Randall Jr., the stunt coordinator for all the movies. He's also, oh gosh, this man. He is also the original Boba Fett stunt double
Oh, wow.
for the Star Wars movies. And this is the man that came to Orlando and handpicked who he wanted to be in his show. And I mean, what an honor for me. I was blown away. Um, and we trained for 9 months with him. And while the stage was being built, because it was dirt back then,
Right.
and
Mm.
as it was getting closer, they were starting to advertise. This is a great story. They started advertising for the show. And one morning, we all were gathered at the warehouses, and these film people came in, and they wanted to find out if Glenn Randall would shoot a commercial running from the boulder. And he said, well, I'm not Indiana Jones. I've got three Indiana Jones over there. Why don't you choose one of those? And they're like, oh, those are Disney employees. We really can't do that. And then Glenn, there were three stuntmen, Glenn Randall Jr., Larry Holt, and Bob Yerkes. They were all the men that were training us. And they wanted one of them to be running from the boulder,
Hmm.
but they didn't want to do it. Glenn Randall was like, "No, I don't feel like running from the boulder today. Why don't you ask him?" So they came over and they asked me if I would like to do it. And I said, of course, I would love to do it. What an honor. And what Disney did was fire me for the day and then hire me the next day. So I wasn't an employee and I got to shoot the commercial and I got SAG residuals for years from
Oh,
that
wow.
commercial. It was
That's cool.
amazing, just amazing.
Now, did
So
that hurt your seniority when it came to schedule bids? Because
not at all.
now, okay.
Not at all. But you would think it would, but it did not. Uh, and then let's fast forward the next 30 years. I portrayed Indiana Jones, hopefully to the very best that I could do. And I always say I haven't worked because I've been at the stage now for 35 years, Disney for 37. But I always say I haven't worked in 35 years. I've just played.
Sure. That's amazing. I mean, it's like it's the dream, right?
Oh,
You
it
do
is.
something that you love you can make a living doing it. Uh,
Truly is. And that's what I've tried to pass on to my kids. I'm like, you just got to find something that you're passionate about and that you really, really want to do. And then it's never a job.
that's so
So
cool.
yeah,
Uh,
so cool.
Now, you got to do a lot of to me, iconic things. You were the Indiana Jones stuntman during the Full House
I
Disney
was.
episodes.
Yeah.
You had a little bit of a mullet back then, I think,
Oh
right?
yeah, I had a big old mullet.
Yeah. Now, were you also in the Donnie Wahlberg New Kids on the Block Wildest Dreams?
No, that wasn't me.
Okay.
I think that was I think that was Larry Lee.
Okay. But you got to be the Star Wars Indiana Jones during that
I
like one.
did. I did. And what an honor that show was because it was three shows for one night.
Mhm.
And George Lucas was in the audience. All they were all there. All the Star Wars people, Mark Hamill, they were all there. And the fact that the fans were so into this, it was just when I dropped in from the ceiling, I've only heard that applause once later since then. But it was just uproarious. It was just so loud. They were so into the show. And I there was a part where I was going through the Pungies, and we combined Star Wars and Indiana Jones together, right? For
Right.
this one show. So Jar Jar's head was on one of the pungies and it was
Right.
covered up so they couldn't see it. And then when the punji popped up, that cover stayed down and his head was supposed to be on top of the punji, right? Well, the gag didn't work. I went through the punjies, Jar Jar's head came off, and then I looked at it and I'm like, I got to do something. So I went down the stairs, I picked up Jar Jar's head and I like this, holding his head like this, and I went, "Really, George? Jar Jar?" And I stuck it on the punji and I went up the stairs.
it, it it seems like every show is just so much fun to you guys. How much improv are you allowed to throw in there? To me, not much because the lines seem to be the same every single show, and I've seen a lot of them.
Yeah, I know. I know
But
you have. So we do have leeway, to improv if the situation arises and we need to fill time or fill space, right? But for the most part, yes, the show just runs from beginning to end, usually all the same dialogue. But the show is never the same. I have to tell you that. It has never been the same for 35 years because you have different cast members who do things differently. And some are great, and some are
Right,
not.
right. Who are
But
not? No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to put you on that.
Yeah,
Just
name
kidding.
names.
Just kidding. So, how many years? And I know you took a break to do some other stuff, but how many years from start to finish did you play Indy?
I would for a total of 30 years.
Okay, wow.
And that 30th anniversary show where they invited everyone who had ever been a part, whether you were talent or tech or costuming or stage manager or show director, they were all invited to the 30th anniversary show. And that is the second time I heard that uproarious applause when I dropped in and they found out who the indie was that was doing the 30th show.
Right.
Now, I didn't get to do the whole show. I only got to do scene one, but that was an honor, and
Right.
I was so honored to be able to do it.
So had you stopped playing indie at that point and they had you kind of come back to it for one night limited time magic?
Well, kind of. I mean, for the most part, yes, I had moved on. They put me into one of the acting roles in the
Right.
show, and I was happy to do that because they also told me that I would still be able to train the indies when they came in. And that's my passion.
Right.
Um, Seeing the light in someone's eye when they finally get the whip or a high fall that they, might have been a stumbling block for them when they finally feel good enough to do it. So, uh, yeah, I was still doing it, but it was rare.
Right. You know what I love about you and what I've heard in interviews and just first of all, it whether you're the director or the talent director or the various roles that you play now, it looks like you're having so much fun.
I am.
It's like it's like this is just fun for him. But you tell a story, and I love that you appreciate the small things, like when you've trained a new indie. But you tell a story about a picture that you saw with a father and their child. Can you kind of
Actually, a
talk
picture
about
I
that?
took.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. Gives me goosebumps.
Yeah. So I needed something to inspire these new people that were coming in. Because, I'm old school and I'm all about emotions and emotions and Indiana Jones, they tie themselves together very well. And I needed something for these new indies to kind of latch on to know, for them to know how important it is what you're doing out there. It- So there was a father and a son. They both had Indiana Jones hats on, and the father's got his arm around his son like this, but I took the picture from the backside. So they're looking at the show, right? And that picture just speaks volumes about what that dad is giving up. Because as a father, you always want your son to look up to you and just you want to be, oh sorry. You want to be his hero, you
Right.
know? And that picture just conveyed it so well. So I tried to convey that to my new indies, and that's really all I had to do was show them that picture because they understood, yes, what they're doing. They are portraying a character, but there's more to it. You are that kid's hero at that moment, right? And that it just means so much.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. The first
You're
time I
welcome.
heard that story, I have used that story, and I credit you in for my staff because it's just such a cool moment, and I mean, you embody what it is to be a Disney cast member.
Thank you.
To just how important every single role that's being played out at Walt Disney World is. So
Right.
I love that story. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
What is the biggest difference between playing indie 30 years ago and then someone playing indie now? What are the biggest differences?
Playing it 30 years ago was a lot harder. It truly was.
Okay.
We didn't have the huge ceiling fans that they have now. Uh, they're actually called big ass fans,
Yeah,
and they're
yes, they are.
wonderful. They're wonderful. They keep the audience cool and they keep us cool. But we didn't have those back then. And in the middle of summer, it was extremely hot. We our costume was not as finely tuned as it is right now.
Hmm.
The boots that we wore back then were construction boots, steel toe.
Oh my gosh.
They weighed probably 10 pounds, and that's not a lie.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
and probably the worst is that during peak seasons, we had 14 shows a day. Yeah.
Oh my
And
God. I think you peak
two
now at
cast,
6.
two casts,
Okay.
right? So you had 7 and 7. And if one of your indies didn't show up for the PM cast, you were asked, "Hey, can you stay?" And you had to do another probably 4 shows.
Oh my goodness.
It was crazy. But I was a lot younger then, and I could do
Sure.
that.
So I think you peak at 6 shows now, right?
Yeah, we have five.
Five,
Five
five.
shows a day.
Wow. And so yeah, we there's not really an opportunity for the nighttime show anymore, which was always my favorite as a kid.
I know. And that show, I'm telling you, is designed to be done at nighttime
Yeah.
because the lighting on the berms and the
Hmm.
lighting in scene one, oh, it's just fantastic.
It's incredible.
It really is.
I gotta tell you, when I was a kid, I would go see 3 indie shows per day. Okay, I would go to
You
the
still
first.
do.
Well, stop. Uh, I go to the first. I would go
You're
to the
still a
first.
kid.
I am, especially when it comes to the Indiana Jones stunt show. I have to, Kevin. I have to watch myself because sometimes I'll say the lines, and I try to say it very quietly so that I'm not ruining the show for everybody else. Like my favorite line is that, "Can you explain the dangers of working with pyrotechnics?" And then usually Big Steve is my favorite.
Oh God, yeah.
Working with pyrotechnics, it's dangerous. It's
Yep.
my favorite.
Yep.
Anyway, 3 shows. First show, and then I would force my parents to take us to Backlot Express, and we
Oh,
would sit by the table right by the fence so I could see from the side, and then we go see the
that's
nighttime show.
amazing. That's amazing.
So I know the show very, very well.
Yeah, you do.
Any chance of the audience volunteers, but more importantly, the plant and the audience coming back?
Unfortunately, I don't think that will happen. I really wish it would. I really do. We just got back our honorary assistant directors, which is it's a step in the right direction.
Right.
So we have 2 kids coming, oh, two or one or sometimes three, and they come down and they say lights, camera, action, and then the show starts. And that is, like I said, a step in the right direction. But I think the powers that be, they kind of like how the show flows right now. It's it's pretty much, a half an hour to 35 minutes long. And when we add the extras, it's about a 45-minute show.
Oh wow.
So,
I guess I never
and they
really.
also have to maintain costumes
Yeah.
and, you know, but boy, would I love to see that come back.
Yeah, for
I'm
me it was
still
the.
fighting for it.
Well, keep that fight going, Kevin. Also, I'll be the first on the petition.
I know.
The plant was my favorite part
Oh
of the
gosh, yes.
like, the volunteers. That's whatever, but the plant coming out, that
So
was.
I got to tell you, that was one of my favorite roles to play. I got to do the
Oh,
shill.
really?
Oh
Okay.
yeah. And I would be in the audience. I'd be like scooting across the aisle, trying to find my seat, and then she'd pick me.
Sure.
But I had popcorn in my hand, right? So I'd turn around like I was surprised, and the popcorn would go everywhere. Or I had an ice cream in my hand, and I would bring that down on the stage. And then when she had me balance on one leg, I would balance. You can find this on YouTube, I'm pretty sure. And then I would lose my balance and I'd throw the ice cream up as high as I could. It would splatter. I'd pick it up and I'd take a bite. Oh, that
That's
was a
amazing.
fun role.
I'm sure. So back in the day, did you get opportunities to play different roles?
Yeah,
Obviously,
I absolutely did.
that's
Within the
changed a
show,
little bit.
I have been every character within the show except for the giant and Marion.
Okay. And now Robert's been, has he been with you since the beginning?
He was 6 months after me.
Okay.
It's very funny because on the Disney Plus special, I don't know if you saw it, or I'm sure
Oh,
you saw it. Yeah. All right. So behind the
listen,
scenes,
I am a normal person, I promise. I know it's coming across as a little bit creepy, but I am normal.
right? So on that, they mixed it up of who Robert was and who I was. And they said that he was a day one cast member. And I'm sitting there watching it in the green room with him. And that announcement came on, and I went, the hell you are. And that's been the running joke ever since. He's just a day one cast member. But
That's funny.
actually, he and Michelle Waitman came in together 6 months after I did.
Okay. and Michelle's still with the show. So is
Michelle is still with the show and she's still doing Marion.
that's crazy.
She's amazing.
Yeah. Is that where the joke, because I catch it every once in a while where Justin says, I just want to make mom and dad proud. Is that when both of you are in the show together at some point that's when that line comes out?
Well, I'm not his dad, but he
Right.
calls me dad, and I call him son in the show. So I call him son when I see him because
That's
it's
funny.
just
Who's your favorite current Indian? Why is it Justin?
and why is it or
And
why
why is
isn't
it
it?
Justin? Because really, that's all we're here to talk about is just. No, I'm only kidding. Yeah, look, Justin's been so nice to me every time I'm there. You know, he says hi and all that. I think he initiated the wanted poster in the green room, but no.
Justin is amazing. All of the indies right now that are lucky enough to uh, portray this character, um, they are all fantastic. If I had to pick one, do I have to pick one?
You don't have to pick one, but
Okay. I mean, I
you can
can.
if you want. Oh, then if you
Which
can,
one?
then let's do it.
It's Aaron Zoldan
Aaron, okay, he's a good
because
one.
he is fantastic. He's also we train now together. So
Okay,
we're like co-trainers when the indies come in. And he just has the same mindset that I do and that I did when I did the role. Uh, there's no one who has more pride about the role right now that's doing it than him. He's
that's
fantastic.
so cool. Now, can you take me through? Because sometimes I'll see an indie perform scene one, the temple scene, and then a different indie in scene two, which is the marketplace. And then sometimes that same indie in scene three, the plane, sometimes they'll go back to the first one.
Yep.
What's kind of happening there and why does that happen?
That's a great question. So you more than likely were lucky enough to see a new indie going into show because that's how we get them in. We start with when we start our training, we start with scene one
Okay.
because it's the most difficult. You got to remember, there's no other actor on stage to help you. You know, it's just you and 2,000 people out in the audience watching you. And I don't want the audience to be bored. You know what I mean?
Right.
So they have to tell a story, and that story has to unfold as you're going through the stunts. Um, so we'll start with scene one, and then when they are signed off in scene one, they'll be able to do it in show. And then our full-time indie will come in for scenes two and three. And then as they progress and they learn more, then we jump to scene three because that's the next scene that they would learn that's not as involved. You have one actor that you're really, well, two, but it's just not as involved.
Sure.
Scene two is, of course, the most involved. So that's the last scene that we train them on. And that's the last scene they go into.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
How long does it take to learn the whip routine?
So it varies with each uh, indie that we train. Um, I've had guys who come in and pick it up, and they may have never picked it up in their life, but they're just very aware of their body and how it moves, and or they play baseball. Playing baseball, believe it or not, is a great training ground to use a whip.
Okay.
Um, but they have 9 weeks to learn the show. That's it.
Wow.
And that's a lot. It's a lot of information. The note sessions are long and lengthy. And then as they get better, they get shorter and shorter. But yeah, only 9 weeks to learn the show.
Now, how does that overnight rehearsals? Is that overnight? When does that
It
process happen?
happens, it happens after our daily ops. So our
Okay.
last show will end. They'll more than likely the techs will do a burn off, getting rid of all of the gases that are on stage. And then we can start soon after that. And we'll go to 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
So it's not a lot of time. You know,
No.
it's less than 4 hours that they get.
Wow.
And there's the other side of the coin is that if I'm only training one indie, that's not really as good as training two. Three is almost too much, but still works. But two is great because one can watch the other one.
Sure.
They can get in on the note sessions together, learn from their notes, what we're looking for and what we want. And then they also get a break. So they get to sit and rest and then, okay,
Right.
come on, you're back on.
Now, you still perform the stunts when you're training?
I do.
How much fun
Uh,
is that? That's
oh, it's my joy. You have no idea. Uh, Unfortunately, they made me stop doing rope drop. I don't know why. There's no reason for it because I can still do it. But I was nicknamed the golden retriever of the rope drop because when I got up there to do the rope drop, it's so exciting. It's the best ride in the park.
sure, I bet.
It really is. Do you know what it is?
I've heard that it's a similar technology as something on Thunder Mountain.
Yeah, Space Mountain.
Space Mountain. Okay.
So it is a Space Mountain braking system,
That's crazy.
and we are the car.
Right, right. That's so cool.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Dane, I'm hogging all the questions. Do you have any questions for Kevin Brassard, the original Indiana Jones stunt performer at Hollywood Studios?
I do. I want to go back to the audition. What was the audition like? Like, what did they have you do exactly? Because if you didn't
So
know you were auditioning for indie,
I
so
had no idea. And there, like I said, there was an action character named Jack,
mm,
and we were brought into the room. Some of us had more than one people that were brought into the room, and some of us went in just by ourselves. I was lucky enough to go in by myself. Glenn Randall was there.
mm.
Barbara Epstein was there. She was our acting coach. I didn't know who she was, but I found out later she's fantastic. She makes you see things differently that you would not think about, as an actor. And I really appreciated that. Uh, and then I did the script that they gave me. I read it and I left. They weren't looking at how I threw a punch or anything.
Mm.
I will say that they did go one step further with me because they had me not do a dance, but move, right?
Mm.
And back in the day, I could move well. I'm not a dancer. I would never classify myself as a dancer. I
You
did
did do
dance.
musicals though.
What's that?
You did do musicals. Like, didn't you do
I,
Tarzan Rocks?
I absolutely did. Yes. Um, and earlier, I mean, I've taken dance classes. I took a lot. I mean, I married a ballerina, so I didn't have a choice. But they had me move at the audition, and I think that's what got me the job because Glenn liked the way that I moved. I didn't move like a dancer. I moved like a man.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I was just curious what like, what they told you if they didn't if obviously they didn't say it was for the stunt spectacular. Tell us a little bit about what opening day was like for the
Oh,
show.
opening day was so exciting because Michael Eisner was there, George Lucas was there as well. Um, the audience was just so pumped up, and so was the cast because we had worked for 9 months, and our script changed. I can't tell you how many times. We went through daily changes. We had a script book that was like about this thick. And if you had different color pages, you had a brand new script. And you had to learn those lines before you went out on stage. The park had opened, but our show was not quite finished yet. But Disney thought it would be great if they opened up the audience and allowed the guests to go in and watch the rehearsals. So yeah, we were in a goldfish bowl for the longest time.
There's
Uh,
two goldfish bowls in Hollywood Studios at one point.
I,
um,
that is my new answer for if you could invent time travel, what would you go back and do? That's one of my things. I would go back and watch the rehearsals of Indiana Jones before it opened up.
Yeah, they were fun. They really were.
Any blooper moments from a show that you can remember? And what's your
Gosh,
favorite?
there's so many blooper moments that happen. Um, I
The
think,
disaster that everyone talks about in the 90s where the boulder came off the track.
oh, that's the only time. It's on YouTube. You'll find
Yeah.
it, and it is
Disaster at
listed
Disney.
at as that
Yep.
disaster at
Yep.
Walt Disney Studios. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, that and it's actually part of my tour when I give a tour of the stage. It's one of the things I'll pull up on YouTube and show them. Now, the thing about it is the indie that is in that video, he was fantastic. He was a great indie. And unfortunately, he did get injured. He had a lot of nerve damage in his legs,
Ooh.
and he never really came back
Hmm.
to our show, which was sad. Now, he went on and he's got a great career right now, but uh, it was kind of sad what happened to him because we all loved him so much at our stage. Uh, but what was my point?
I didn't know that he got injured.
Yeah, that's
Oh, the
that's
blooper,
terrible.
the blooper
Yeah,
moment.
yeah, your favorite
So,
blooper.
there is and I won't mention the indie's name, but there was an indie who was being checked off for scene one.
Okay.
Actually, he had been checked off and he was performing his first scene one in front of an audience. And the show director and myself were sitting in the audience, and he was starting to go through the punjies, and he just misstepped. That's all he did. And when he did, the punji went up his back. So it went under his jacket, right? And he's kind of on there.
Okay.
Now, he could have gotten off, but what he did, he took the satchel, which is under the jacket, and he went like that, essentially locking himself onto the punji. So that's known as the dick on the stick.
So, how did he get up? Did they have to lower the punji?
Yeah, cut,
God.
cut. Start again.
I will say the indies nowadays, when especially when that boulder doesn't come out and they call cut, and you usually give it two chances.
Yep, we'll give it 2 chances.
They're incredible at keeping that crowd going.
They really are.
Yes, they're breaking character, but they do it so well. I don't even care. It doesn't matter.
I know, it doesn't matter. They do a great job. We have one that we call the pandering king because he panders the audience so well, and he really does. He does a great job. And then later he'll incorporate that because he'll get, he'll raise his arms like that
Mm-hmm.
and try to get the audience to applaud, and they'll applaud. And then he incorporates that later in his interview, and he'll finish the interview and go like this, and they'll scream bloody murder for it.
Would that be
Great.
Ryan?
Yes.
I've seen him do it. This
Yeah.
is okay, Kevin. I assure you, I'm normal. I've got a wife, 3 kids. The fact that I know this much, I'm a normal person. I promise.
It's all right. I promise. It's all right.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
so
you.
great I'm telling you, I love the fans. There is nothing better. The fans are why we are still there. So please don't ever apologize.
All right. Listen, I had a scary moment when the announcement of Monsters Inc. coming to Hollywood Studios.
Yeah.
And I was scared for a moment because in that same announcement is, oh, Animal Kingdom's getting in Indiana Jones ride. And I was like, oh,
I know.
no.
I know.
This
We
is
we
gonna
all
be-
held our breath too.
Yeah, but thankfully, we're just getting rid of the Muppets. They don't matter. Keep
Which
keep
is
Indy.
sad. I love
It's
the
very
Muppets.
sad. I don't know. Listen, I'm excited about Monsters Inc. I'm not excited about the placement. I think that there were better places.
Yeah, I agree.
Animation Courtyard. But
Exactly.
Yeah, let's not get political here, but yes, animation courtyard.
Dane has a love for animation. The animation. He did a YouTube video.
I have a love for the building, not for
the
not for
building.
the
Yeah, he did a
courtyard.
full documentary. Interviewed some of the animators and some of the original Imagineers from that. building, so he's got a love for that.
I know. I know. I love that building.
Kevin, before we let you go, what do you want the audience to know about you and your story and just all of the indies? What's kind of the I don't know. That's a vague question. I don't know.
It is.
Yeah, Kevin, what's your schedule like for tomorrow? What are you doing on Friday?
I'm working.
Any what's the future for Kevin?
That's a great question. Especially right now because I'm like I said, I'm at 37 years with uh, Walt Disney World. Loved every minute of it. I'm trying to make it to 40. I'd like to be that 40-year cast member. That would be fun. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but it might. My wife and I are starting to plan our retirement. I'm 63 years old,
What?
and yeah, and I
Wow.
love being
Crazy.
63 years old. Uh, but I want to enjoy my kids and I want to enjoy my wife. I want to travel with her. Uh, so I don't know. I really don't know what the future for Kevin holds yet. Right now, I am still happy where I am. I still laugh every day. I don't go in, I got to do 5 shows. I feel blessed and lucky to be able to do 5 shows. So, yeah, I'm good. I'm good where I am.
That's incredible. All right. So I
Now,
need
if
to
they
come out there
take
as
the
much as
training away from me, that might be a different story.
okay. So as long as you keep the training, that prolongs
Kevin's
your
life.
career there. Okay. Gotcha.
Absolutely.
I need to ask you about the Dial of Destiny premiere. What was
Oh,
meeting
Yeah.
Harrison Ford like?
How did I forget this? My bad.
it's the pinnacle.
Oh, you didn't know about the interview, so you got it. It's
That's
okay.
true.
It was the absolute pinnacle of my career at Disney. Um, I was told at the end of a show by Rayvon, who is the Disney ambassador, who came on, and there were cameras that came on behind him so they could film the whole thing. And he surprised me and told me that I was going to Hollywood to be on the red carpet, to meet Harrison Ford and watch the movie, and I could bring my wife. What? Are you kidding me? Well, my wife didn't want to go because she knew the whole thing was going to be filmed and documented, and she just didn't, she's not into all of that. Um, so it was my wife that suggested, why don't you take Michelle, who was my Marion of 30 years, right? I said, that's a great idea. I'll ask. Well, I didn't have to even ask. Michelle, Michelle was already saying, yes, I'll go. Uh, and it was just a wonderful trip out to Hollywood. They sent us out there where we had a day before the actual premiere and got to kind of tootle around Hollywood a little bit. That was fun. I ate a lot. Uh,
There's a lot of good food in Hollywood.
yeah. And then the night of the actual premiere, man, they treated us from start to finish like we were Hollywood stars, truly. Um, they picked us up in limousines. They dropped us off in limousines. The night of the premiere, they met us down in the lobby. They escorted us to where we were going. We got our badges. We got the microphones. Why do we need microphones? I don't know, but we needed microphones. Um, because look, we found out later we were doing an interview, and that was fun because being interviewed by the Hollywood Reporter, I had no idea what they were going to ask. And I was pulling answers out of my butt. And I just, I did, I didn't want to sound like a stupid stuntman, and not that there are stupid stuntmen. I'm just saying I wanted to hopefully answer the questions as eloquently as I possibly could. And I think I did. Uh, Everybody said it was good, so I felt good about that. But then it came time, and we were escorted in front of the wall where all the pictures happen, right? and there's like 300 photographers in front of you, and they're all, calling your name, and I'm trying to get pictures. Okay, great. Yeah, it was so exciting. And then we were escorted away. We were like in a holding area, and this beautiful blonde woman comes over to me and goes, "Kevin Brassard?" And I went, "Yes." And she grabs my hand, takes me over. She goes, "Kevin Brassard, Harrison Ford." And I started to introduce myself, and he stopped me and said, "Oh, I know who you are. You're the two stunt people from Florida. You're Kevin and you're Michelle." And my mouth did exactly what yours is. It dropped just completely
Wow.
open. And he was so kind, so gracious with his time. We, we had this interaction with him, which probably lasted about 3 minutes. And we thought, oh my gosh, this is a busy man. We need to let him go. And we were thanking him, and he goes, "Well, don't you guys want a picture or something?" And we're like,
Wow.
"That would be great."
Yeah.
Yeah, it was quite the event. And then we got to go watch the movie. And I don't know if you know this or not, but before the movie started, they brought all the stars up onto the stage, and the director as well. And then I believe it was George who announced what was going to happen next. And the screen was absolutely enormous. I've never seen a bigger film screen. It was just enormous. And he was talking about how the film all came together, but of course it would be nothing if John Williams had not come out of retirement and, done the score. And then he goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, John Williams." And this huge screen raises up, and there's a full orchestra behind it.
Oh,
I mean, it was just surreal. It was unbelievable.
that's
And
so
then they
cool.
and then he went in to explain how the theme came to be, the new theme. It was amazing, just amazing. Oh, I get
That's
goosebumps.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's incredible. Dane, do you
Truly.
know the difference between Kevin and Harrison Ford?
Um, I think.
About $200 million.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like the role. I was like,
No, it's a line from the
the
show,
No, it's a
same.
Dane.
joke from the show.
Oh, okay. I was gonna. It's the
Has Harrison Ford ever
same role,
seen
man.
the stunt show?
Yes, he has. He's been there. And he got to see a wonderful indie perform the show. Jeff Robinson, who Jeff Robinson really had Harrison Ford's run down. He had it pat, man. There was nobody that could mimic his run like Jeff Robinson.
Hmm, that's
Did an
cool.
amazing job. And I know Harrison loved the show when he was done.
You mentioned earlier about your wife and children. I'm assuming your children are now grown up. Do they know dad as Indiana Jones or did they know dad as Kevin?
Both. They know me as dad and they know me as Indy. Um, it's been great having this role and having the kids and bringing them to see the show. My son was just an Indiana Jones aficionado. He knew everything about Indiana Jones when he was growing up. My daughters were the same. They knew everything. They loved it. Now, one of my fondest memories of the Indiana Jones show, and Scott, you'll be able to see this. Dane, have you seen the show?
Yes.
Okay, good answer. Uh,
Not as many times as Scott, but yes, I have.
I don't think
okay, good.
anybody's
I,
seen it as
I
many
don't
times
So
think
as
I've
me.
ever seen. I probably have. I'm sure I have seen you in it.
I hope you have.
Yeah, I'm sure I have.
So I came out of rope drop. I hit the ground. I had lit my torch, and my daughter and my wife are in the front row in the VIP section. And my daughter's on the bar like this, right? Just so excited. And I go down to blow the dust, and I hear, "Daddy! Daddy!" Well, now my shoulders are shrugging because I'm laughing. The audience knows that's my daughter. They're laughing. It was the best moment.
Oh,
It
that's so
was just
cool.
so great. She just wanted me to say hi.
Oh,
So I did. I shot her a look and I waved and I
that's
went about my
adorable.
business, finished the show.
I love that.
But it was
Uh,
such a great moment.
Do you think you'll ever play indie again? You think you'll do it one last time?
I would love to. I absolutely would love to. Before I leave, that's my plan. So I'll let you know.
Yeah. No, you're in remarkable shape. I mean, you easily could. It looks like
I
at least.
thank you. I
I don't know
appreciate
how
that.
you
I work.
feel, but yeah, it
No, I
looks like
work
you could
very
be able to
hard.
do it.
I'm at the gym 7 days a week because I think if you stop, you start to break.
Hmm.
And I don't want to start to break.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to grab my 12-year-old real quick. I said, "Hey, sweetheart, come here." She goes, "That's the director from Indiana Jones." Well, Kevin, thank you. This was a huge thrill. Dane, thank you for the birthday gift. This was
You're welcome,
Happy
Scott.
birthday, by the way.
thank
Yeah,
you
happy
so
birthday,
much. This
Scott.
was incredible. It's I like I said, I heard an interview with you on a different podcast. I don't even remember what it was. It was just I was on a YouTube wormhole, just finding different old indies and their videos posting. There's one
Yeah.
who goes through scene by scene on how all the effects work, and I'm like, oh, the magic is.
Oh, yeah. That guy was
Uh-oh.
never supposed to do that.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. But I heard your interview and it was incredible, and you're just so humble, and you appreciate the role, and you appreciate the role that you play in it, and I just appreciate your time so much.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you so much. Well, this has been a pleasure. This has been a blast.
Thank you. Thank you very
Absolutely.
much, Kevin.
Yeah,
Anytime.
thank you so much, Kevin.
Thank you,
Thank
Dane.
you.
That was incredible.
Happy birthday, my man.
Thank you so much. Oh my God. I mean, I could have talked to him for another hour.
Yeah,
But he gave us 40
such-
minutes. I didn't want to, I didn't want to bogart
Such a
his
humble
entire.
guy. If it wasn't 8:20 at night, we could have gone even longer with him. I feel like he's such a great guy. I reached out to him.
Yeah, how
And-
did you do that?
So it was very hard to keep it from me. So if anyone doesn't know, Scott didn't know anything about this. We did not. Me and Ryan, we did not tell him about this. I had this idea a few months ago. I was like, what if we did like an Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular like episode, and we got Justin, because all of us follow each other on Instagram, and we got the original Indy, and then and then from there I was like, Scott's birthday is coming up. I just get the original Indy for him for his birthday and play it off as a birthday guest to get birthday present interview. So I reached out to him. I just emailed him, and he was just like, "Yeah, where and when, whatever you need." Incredible
Amazing.
guy. Incredible
Amazing.
guy.
Thank
So I
you.
think-
So that was such a big thrill.
Well, let's end this episode off right here. I got a question for you, my man. Since Ryan
Yes, sir.
isn't here, I'll do the question.
Okay.
Top 3 Indiana Jones movies.
Top 3. Does it have to be in order?
It could, if that's your list.
Okay. No, I've got it in order. Temple is
Top
number
5
one.
Indiana Jones movies.
Temple of Doom's my number 1. Last Crusade's number 2. Raiders number 3. Then I would put Dial of Destiny as 4, and the
Crystal Skull.
yeah, that one as a deep 5. I would maybe even put it as number 6. I would probably put that lower than the Young Indiana Jones series that came out, which was god awful.
See, dude, I'm gonna disagree with you. I'm putting Dial of Destiny at 5, and then I'm putting Crystal Skull at 4. If we're doing that,
See,
because
I like Dial of Destiny.
I like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull before they start on the actual getting to the Crystal Skull stuff. Like the
Yeah,
first half of that movie is, I think, spectacular. I think
I
it's
don't.
really
You know
good,
what?
really
You know what,
strong.
Dean? I don't disagree with you. I think you
Like
may
the
be
fridge
right.
thing, like the fridge thing is silly, but like this is the same movie, like Raiders ending. Like,
Do you know why the fridge thing is in there?
yes, and I forget it. Tell me.
It's homage to the original Back to the Future concept.
Really?
The original Back to the Future concept, Robert Zemeckis was going to use a refrigerator and
Really?
a nuclear. Yeah, that was going to be the time travel.
Huh. Oh, that wasn't the reason I thought then. I did not know that.
You know, Dane,
that's interesting.
And Ryan had said this once, that if you think about all of the Indiana Jones movies, they all have a supernatural type ending to it. And I never really appreciated that until he said that. And so it does make Crystal Skull a little bit better, because for me, it was just so far out there with the aliens.
The only reason I don't like the alien stuff being in the movie is because, okay, so first, the alien thing, that was supposed to be in Raiders, right? That was like an original concept by George. He wanted to make an Indiana Jones, like, alien movie. Like, that was a very early concept, I think, at least.
It never becomes a franchise if he does that.
Yeah, that is true. I think that's why he actually didn't do it, but I'm pretty sure that was a concept for a very long time that he had. So it's not out of the ordinary for an Indiana Jones to have aliens in it. There were basically aliens in it at the end of Raiders with the demons and stuff, that, or whatever it is, you know.
Yeah.
But the thing that makes it's the way that the movie is written. It's the way that the aliens are written into the story, and it's the way that the aliens look.
Yeah.
I feel like it would have been a lot better movie if the and this might, it probably makes no sense. It would probably make it worse, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, if they actually never actually saw the alien, and then, like, the bones never came alive again, because that's where it loses me.
Yeah,
it's like, okay,
agreed.
now that is too much for
You're
some
not
reason.
wrong. It was a really good movie until that moment, and that moment ruins it. You're right. And also, I think I struggled seeing Harrison Ford as Indy so old.
Yes.
And it was like,
performances aside, because in Crystal Skull the performances are not very good in my opinion.
To me, it was so odd, because you have these three iconic movies, you know, Raiders, Temple of Doom, and Last Crusade, and then 20, 30 years later they do Crystal Skull, and to me it was almost like he had time traveled, because you're used to seeing him in the 30s and 40s, and now he's in like the 50s and 60s. It just didn't make any sense. I struggled with that. Whereas Dial of Destiny, I knew he was old. I knew what to expect. And technology's gotten a lot better. The making him younger gave me that easy transition. So I think I think the filmmaking may have been better. I don't know, but come to think of it, Dial of Destiny is a very slow moving movie until the end. So I get it. I did like Dial of Destiny better.
Yeah. And then also for me, it's Dial of Destiny number 5, Crystal Skull 4, 3 is Temple of Doom, and then 2 is Last Crusade, and then number 1 Raiders. I don't know why people like Temple so much. I don't like it.
I'll tell you, for me, it was the first one I ever saw.
Okay, there you go. I'm sure that's the reason for a lot of other people, but I just don't like. I don't know why. I've never gotten into that film. I think it's because of how weak the supporting character is. Like, the supporting female,
Spielberg's wife.
Don't like her. Don't like the character. I don't like the character.
Well, I get it. I think the problem. Here's the problem. Why did they go away from Karen Allen in the next 2 movies?
I don't know.
I think it makes a stronger story if you keep Karen Allen instead of these just different damsels, you know? I don't know. You know, I had a problem with that. But again, I saw Temple of Doom first. So to me, it was always her. And I was like, oh, who's this Marion? Like, it doesn't make any sense. I love Short Round. I love the scene when
I like Short Round.
The scene when they're at dinner was one of the neatest scenes to me, with all the different foods, and and I loved my mom's reaction to the bug scene. You know, it was just so cool. And then I saw Raiders much later. I actually saw Raiders after seeing the Indiana Jones stunt show. So
I think I might have too. I most definitely did. Now
Yeah.
that I think about it, because I saw the Sun show when I was like 3 and 5. So
and I think some of the scenes in the stunt show are better than the ones in the movie.
no, I can't agree with you there.
The
I can't agree with
marketplace
you
scene.
there.
The marketplace scene is just, it's longer in the stunt show, and it's funnier. I don't know.
And we
It's
timed it stopwatch when you're watching.
no, but I don't love Raiders as a movie. I love the scenes that they duplicate in the movie or in the stunt show. But yeah, it's my least favorite of the original 3.
Yeah.
And Crusade. Last
Crusade is such an underrated movie.
It is.
Love Last Crusade.
And I could put Last Crusade over Temple of Doom because it's so funny. Sean Connery was so funny.
So good. So good, dude.
I know I'm 45 years old. I need to grow up a little bit, but
no, you don't.
Anyway, Dane, this was a super fun episode.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Incredible.
Happy birthday, Scott. You want to take us out?
Yeah.
It's your episode, my man.
Dane, what do you got anything coming up on Big Beautiful Diz?
I do. You want a little topic reveal?
Sure. Let's hear it.
All right. So I'm doing a video on something that's actually you know very well. Doing a little video on Pal Mickey.
Oh wow.
So yeah. Yeah, on email exchanges right now for that video actually, because I'm getting information about it. So yeah, doing a video about Pal Mickey. That's going to be coming out on next week, next Christmas week. It's coming out on Saturday. So that is that December.
I love Pal Mickey. The only problem is you couldn't hear him.
Right.
Because it gets so loud in the park, you can't. You got to hold him up.
Yeah, you would have
to
put him up here. Yeah.
Yeah, and you never knew when he was going to talk. But God,
originally I shouldn't say that. Never mind. I was this video is gonna come out before that video. Never mind. I'll tell you off air.
Really cool concept. Really cool concept. Just very expensive at the time. I think it was $50, which
60
$50, 60. Okay, so $60 back in the early 2000s, and you can get an interactive one at Universal right now for $50.
Yeah.
Pretty
pricey.
Well, I mean it is, but like $60 back then. I say back then, like it was like, anyway. So, but right now, if you were to buy that right now, it probably be $120 in the parks.
Yeah.
Easily $100.
Mm-hmm.
But cool piece of technology, was ahead of its time, very poorly executed in my opinion. Because it didn't last. It didn't survive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, $60 in 2003 is now $102.
There you go.
So yeah. It would be 100. It's crazy. How about you? What's coming up on Parents Night Out?
Well, we haven't really discussed what is next on Parents Night Out. We're talking about some things. We're talking about ways to kind of enhance the show a little bit, and just get better. But it's always a fun time. We're still trying to, I think, find our new identity and how that works within the show, without losing what we've been. So check that out. All right. Well, I guess without further ado, as Chris Yob would say 15 times an episode, let's end this thing. On behalf of Dane and Ryan, I'm Scott. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Listen.
Love you, Scott.
Love you, Dane.